going on, everyone? This is Chad with Believe in the Run. The end of the year is upon us. So that being said, I am here in Baltimore at the newly renovated headquarters to bring you what I believe are the best shoes for bigger runners in 2024. Now, my assignment was to come up with a top 5 list of the shoes that I ran in 2024. When I started to whittle down the shoes that I had tested for Believe in the Run and shoes that I had actually acquired on my own, I got to a certain point where I was coming up with my list and the first few were fairly easy, but then I got to the back end of my list and I had 2 shoes that I just could not decide between. So I actually have the top 6 shoes with a tie for 5th. Because it's my list and I get to make the rules. Let's get into the list. Number 5 in a tie is the Hoka Skyward X and the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now, one of the reasons I had such a hard time deciding between these 2 shoes is they are very, very similar. They both have that super high stack of very high quality premium foam. And they both have a very similar ride to me, both in terms of geometry. As you can see, they both have pretty significant toe springs. And at the same time, I mean, overall, I feel like they have the same use case, that long run cruiser that's gonna be able to take you long distances. I tended to lean a little bit more towards the Glycerin Max, simply because it was such a great surprise coming out of the Brooks company that we've kind of knocked them on innovation for a long time. This DNA tuned foam that has different densities in the same block of foam from the heel to the forefoot, something that I can actually feel, the softer heel and the slightly firmer, more resilient and responsive forefoot. Hoka has the plate in it, so it provides a little bit more rigidity, but at the same time provides a nice comfortable ride. I mean, if you're someone who likes ground feel, don't even bother trying these shoes on because they're not gonna be for you. That said, I could not decide between these 2 shoes for my number 5, so they are tied, number 5 best shoe of 2024, Hoka Skyward X and Brooks Glycerin Max. Now moving on to number 4. Number 4 actually is a daily trainer for me. The number 4 is the New Balance 1080 V14. If you follow me, if you followed my reviews for the past few years, you know I actually was able to test the 1080 V13 as well. And it was one of the few shoes that I've run in that really just didn't work for me. I overall liked the feel of the shoe, but the Fresh Foam X was just a little too soft, a little too squishy. When I ran, I got a lot of roll into my medial side of my right foot. It really kind of had my post-tib tendon acting up. The 1080 V14 changed the game for me when it comes to New Balance and their daily trainers. This is a real premium daily trainer. They firmed up the Fresh Foam X a little bit. It still has great pop to it. It is a little firmer. They also changed the geometry of the shoe, widening the base a little bit and the heel. It is a far more stable shoe. It has great outsole coverage rubber. You're gonna be able to get a lot of miles in these. It's just a real premium daily trainer. One of my favorite daily trainers, I think, for all of 2024. And overall, I think it's just a great shoe. I think they really improved from the V13, and I think it's one that's gonna be a great part of my rotation. Moving on to my 3rd shoe, I really don't know what category to put this shoe in, and that is the Puma Deviate Nitro 3. If you read my dedicated column on the website, you would see that the 2 was one of my favorite tempo and speed work shoes. I feel like the Nitro 3 takes a little bit of a step back in terms of the tempo and speed work. You could absolutely use it for that. It is light. It does have some of their more elite great foam, and it also does have their power plate. But to me, it just has more of a feel of a real premium daily trainer, something that you could do for a lot of different types of runs. You could take it out on a daily run where you're gonna maybe do some strides, you're gonna have some fartlek or other workout aspects in your run. Overall, this shoe is great. Puma grip cannot be beat. The outsole traction on this is phenomenal. Overall, I feel like the Deviate Nitro 3 is just a great all-around shoe. It's really gonna handle anything you can kind of throw at it. If you're looking for something that you can maybe even use as a budget racer, with the fact that it comes in around $160, you really can't beat that value. Now my second shoe shouldn't be much of a surprise because I did highlight this earlier in my video before where I talked about the best shoes of 2024 thus far, and I have not been shy in singing the praises of the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. This shoe to me epitomizes what it means to be of a do-it-all shoe. It is light, it is snappy, the foam is very, very responsive. The Power Run PB is slightly firmer than what we've seen in prior models like the version 2, but it has more stability, which is what we saw in version 3. Version 4 is really the perfect marriage between the Speed 2 and the Speed 3. Overall, this shoe can do everything. You can take it out for daily miles. You can take it out on your Tempo and Speedworks. You could race in this shoe. I think, to be honest, this would be a really great shoe to race reasonable distances. I do really think this could be a great, once again, budget racing shoe. I'm gonna put that in quotes because it comes in at the, I believe, 170 mark. At the end of the day, this shoe is great. I do think Saucony also improved the compound that they use for the rubber outsole in the shoe. One of the big things about the prior models is they didn't necessarily have the greatest traction. I think that was improved in the V4. This shoe not only looks good, runs good, and you can't beat that. Now, we have come to number 1 on my list, and once again, for people who follow me, follow all my content, this should not be a surprise, and that is the ASICS Superblast 2. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that is a motto that ASICS stood by when creating the Superblast 2. The Superblast 1 was my favorite shoe of all time, but that was until I was able to lace up the Superblast 2, which has now taken its place. I ran my marathon earlier this year in the version 1 and had a great time. My legs felt great afterwards. I've put a good chunk of miles in the V2 as I've been training since I got it. I actually think they improved the upper. It feels just a little bit more put together and a little bit more cohesive with the overall shoe. It does run a little bit shorter. Everyone always said the Superblast V1 ran a little long. I wore an 11.5 in the Superblast 1. I normally wear 12 in ASICS. I got this in 11.5 and my toes are a little bit crammed in here on the run, so a 12 probably would have been fine. They did kind of shrink it back down. But overall, this shoe just is everything I would want in a shoe. It is lightweight, it is sturdy, it is stable. Ground feel on it, you can't really feel the ground, but it doesn't feel mushy or to the point where you feel like you have to work extra. The shoe gives you back everything you need. Yes, it's $200, but it's a shoe that you could basically buy this pair and run all your miles in it. You could race in it, which I actually probably will do next year when I run the Chicago Marathon. I'll probably run in this or potentially a newer pair because I might run through this one by then. That said, this shoe is great. This shoe can do anything you need and more. And so that's why the Superblast 2 is my number 1 shoe for bigger runners in 2024. What's coming up in 2025? The crew went out to TRE and shot tons and tons of content on shoes that are gonna be coming out in 2025. Now, I've watched a lot of that coverage. It's all great. You should watch it too. But I'm gonna give you highlights of a couple things that I'm looking forward to most in 2025. Number 1, surprisingly, Skechers. The Skechers lineup, I think they call it their Aero lineup, A-E-R-O. There's 3 shoes in that line that all look like they're gonna be actually really good training and potentially race day shoes for Skechers. I was able to run recently in the Go Run Razor 5, and I was a real big fan of that. It reminded me of the Hoka Mach 6. Overall, I think Skechers is really turning a corner. I know Robbie would disagree about the turning a corner, because I know Max Road is one of his favorites ever. But overall, I think Skechers is really starting to put together some real quality shoes, and I'm excited to see potentially what those are like. Obviously, considering I just raved about the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, I'm somewhat excited to see about what they do with the V5. Can they build on the success of the V4, continue it along in that path of being somewhat of a great do-it-all shoe, whether it be for tempo racing or even daily miles. I think the thing I am excited about most was the On Cloudboom Max, which On is touting as a marathon racer designed with the runner who's gonna spend 4+ hours on the road out there. It's designed with us in mind. I'm really excited to give that a try if I do. It just looks like something that's really gonna be accommodating. It's gonna take into account the extra time that we're gonna spend on our feet and everything about how we run. And overall, I think it's just gonna be very interesting to see what that's like. If you like this video, I would ask you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video, follow Believe in the Run on all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, they got it. Follow me on Instagram at the Clydesdale Runner. You can also find me on Threads. And at this point, we're done with 2024. Excited to come back in 2025 and bring you more bigger runner content. It's December now, January's coming up. I hope you all get out, got registered for Grit, and can log some great Grit miles, hopefully in some of these shoes that I've highlighted as the best ones for 2024.